The kick landed before anyone could even scream, a sharp, ugly motion that sent sand flying and time freezing all at once, and in that single breathless second, a waitress on her knees curled tighter around a trembling puppy, while laughter from a wealthy seaside crowd hung in the air like a cruel echo that refused to fade. If you believe stories like this matter, if you believe kindness and second chances still have power in a world that often forgets them, take a moment right now to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories of humanity alive. The beach club was the kind of place people only saw in glossy magazines, all pale wood decks, linen shirts, champagne glasses catching the sun, and yachts resting in the distance like floating palaces. For the guests, this afternoon was meant to be light and careless, a celebration of money and leisure. For Mara, it was just another shift she could not afford to lose. She wore a simple white uniform already stained with salt and spilled drinks, her hair tied back tight because loose strands meant complaints, and complaints meant trouble. Every step she took on the sand felt heavier than the last, not because of the tray in her hands, but because of the small secret she carried in her heart and in the pocket of her apron, the quiet fear that something could go wrong at any moment. The puppy had followed her there by accident, or maybe by fate. It was small, thin, with oversized ears and eyes too old for its young body, the kind of look animals get when they have already learned what hunger and fear feel like. Mara had found it earlier that morning near the dumpsters behind the club, shivering and weak, nudging her ankle as if asking permission to exist. She should have walked away. Rules were rules, no animals, no exceptions. But she had knelt down anyway, sharing half her breakfast, promising herself she would figure something out by the end of the day. She had tucked the puppy into a shaded corner near the service path, checking on it whenever she could, whispering comfort like it understood every word. The problem was that wealth has a way of noticing things only when it feels inconvenienced. One of the guests had spotted the puppy as Mara crouched to offer it water, and from that moment the mood shifted. What had been background noise turned into attention, and attention turned sharp. The crowd's amusement grew darker, curiosity mixing with entitlement. They saw not a struggling animal or a tired waitress, but an interruption, something out of place in their perfect afternoon. Mara felt it before it happened, the tightening in her chest, the way the air seemed to thin. When one of the men stepped closer, she instinctively moved between him and the puppy, dropping to her knees in the sand, arms wrapping around the small body as if her own could be a shield. She did not beg. She did not shout. She simply stayed there, eyes down, heart racing, hoping the moment would pass if she made herself small enough. It did not pass. The kick came fast, careless, fueled by laughter and the unspoken belief that nothing serious could come of it. Pain flared through her side, bright and stunning, knocking the breath from her lungs. She curled tighter, sand grinding into her skin, her only thought to protect the fragile life pressed against her chest. The puppy yelped softly, then went still, trusting her in a way that broke something open inside her. Around them, some guests laughed, others looked away, and a few froze in awkward silence, unsure whether to intervene or pretend nothing had happened. It was easier, after all, to do nothing, easier to let cruelty slide when it wore expensive shoes. What none of them noticed at first was the man at the edge of the beach, moving fast, his posture cutting through the lazy rhythm of the place like a blade. He had arrived moments earlier with a second dog at his side, larger, alert, trained to read danger in a way most people never learn. The man's clothes were simple, almost out of place among the polished crowd, but there was nothing casual about the way his eyes locked onto the scene unfolding ahead. He had not planned to be there. He was supposed to be elsewhere, anywhere but here, still learning how to exist in a world that felt too loud after years defined by precision and purpose. The beach was meant to be quiet, a place to breathe, to let the noise in his head settle. But the sound that reached him was not laughter or waves. It was the unmistakable crack of violence, followed by a whimper that sliced straight through him. Years of training took over before thought could catch up. His body moved, muscles remembering patterns older than conscious decision. Sand kicked up beneath his boots as he closed the distance, his dog matching his pace, ears forward, energy coiled and ready. This was not combat in a foreign land, but the feeling was the same, the cold clarity that came when something innocent was in danger. Mara barely registered him at first. Pain and shock narrowed her world to the puppy's heartbeat under her hands and the burning in her ribs. She tasted blood where she had bitten her lip, her vision blurring as tears mixed with sand. She braced herself for another blow, knowing she would not move even if it came. There are moments when fear gives way to something stronger, when the instinct to protect overrides everything else. And this was hers. The crowd shifted as the man arrived, his presence changing the air in ways they could not quite name. He did not shout, he did not threaten, he simply stood between them and the woman on the ground, his body a barrier as solid as a wall. His eyes scanned quickly, assessing, cataloging, making decisions in fractions of a second. The laughter died. Even the sea seemed to hush, waves rolling in softer, as if aware something important was happening. He knelt beside Mara, careful, deliberate, checking her condition with a gentleness that contrasted sharply with the force that had brought him there. His dog stayed close, watchful but calm, a silent promise of protection. The puppy in Mara's arms trembled, then slowly relaxed, sensing the shift, sensing safety the way animals often do before humans catch up. For the first time, someone spoke with authority that did not come from money or status, but from something deeper, earned in places most people never see. The words were simple, controlled, leaving no room for argument. The crowd, so bold moments before, suddenly looked unsure, their confidence evaporating under the weight of consequences they had not considered. Mara felt hands supporting her as she was helped to her feet, the world tilting slightly as pain made itself known. She had expected indifference, maybe pity at best. What she felt instead was respect, and it startled her more than the kick had. She realized she was shaking, not just from pain but from the release of tension she had been carrying for far too long. The man stayed until help arrived, until it was clear she and the puppy were safe. He did not seek attention, did not linger for praise. When asked who he was, he gave only what was necessary. Later, others would learn he was a Navy SEAL, retired but never truly done, a man who had spent his life running toward danger when others ran away. But in that moment, labels mattered less than actions. The beach club management scrambled, apologies spilling out too late to erase what had happened. Consequences followed for those responsible, swift and public enough to send a message, but the real change was quieter. It lived in the way some of the guests avoided Mara's eyes afterward, and in the way a few others approached her with genuine remorse, faces stripped of their earlier arrogance. Mara went home that night bruised and exhausted, the puppy curled against her like a living heartbeat. She expected fear to keep her awake, replaying the moment again and again. Instead, she slept deeply, the kind of sleep that comes when something inside finally believes it is safe. In the days that followed, her life did not magically become easy. Bills still waited, work was still work. But something had shifted. She walked a little taller, spoke a little firmer, knowing now that her instinct to protect had been right, that kindness was not weakness. The puppy healed quickly, gaining weight, learning to trust. Mara named him Soul, because he had come into her life like a small son on a day that could have broken her. Together they became a quiet symbol of resilience, a reminder that even in places built on excess, humanity could still show up when it mattered. The man returned once, weeks later, not to the club but to a modest park nearby. He watched from a distance as Mara laughed for the first time since he had met her, throwing a stick for Sol, her smile unguarded. He nodded to himself, satisfied, and walked away, his own dog at his side, mission complete in a way that no medal could ever measure. If this story has reached you, if it has made you pause, breathe, or feel something stir in your chest, please take a moment to like the video, share it, and subscribe. These small actions help stories of compassion travel further than cruelty ever should. And before the ending, leave a comment telling us what this story made you feel, or share a moment when you chose kindness even when it was hard. Because in the end, this was never just a story about a kick on a beach or a hero rushing in. It was about the quiet courage of a woman who refused to let go, the innocence of a puppy who trusted anyway, and the reminder that real strength often arrives without warning, asking only that we stand up for those who cannot.